and the United States began its adventures internationally. One of the things we became addicted to as the most powerful country in the world was regime change. Most countries, when they have foreign policies, they try to figure out how to deal with other countries. America, when it has what it calls foreign policy, is how to overthrow governments we don't like. And so we got in the business of overthrowing governments, especially in the Western Hemisphere, for the first 50 years of the last century. And then we really reached global standards, and so we started to overthrow governments everywhere in the world. Southeast Asia, Central America, Africa, and every time a true native leader reared up, like Mr. Lumumba, who thought that maybe the copper belonged to the people of Africa, not to the miners of Belgium, they got a bullet through the head from the CIA. And so we've been at this for a long time. But it's getting worse, by the way. So since 1990, we've been basically, actually, since 1979, we've been at non-stop war. In 1979, we thought we would do something clever. Send in the CIA, and hire some jihadist mercenaries, and try to instigate an invasion of Afghanistan by the Soviet Union to get them stuck. Conscious policy, which 40 years later has left Afghanistan completely destroyed. The culture, the society, the millions of people who have been maimed or died in a nonstop U.S. effort that American people don't even know about, by the way, don't understand, because we've also been told. It was them. They did it. It's the Taliban's fault, and so forth, but without the history and the background. And in the Middle East, how many of you appreciate that the so-called Syrian civil war was an American-led regime change operation against Assad that went wrong because it turned out Assad had friends, the Russians and the Iranians. And we blame them for the war. We started the war. In that case, President Obama even told us Assad must go. And so he signed a presidential order to overthrow a foreign government through covert operations with the Saudi Arabians. It failed. That was 2011. We are 7 years later. 10 million people have been displaced, at least 500,000 dead. And there's now a bloodbath, another one on the way in the northeast province of Idlib, because we're still backing the rebels, so-called. By what principle? To overthrow someone else's government. So that's a country that is on, whose democracy is on life support, because to have endless war, you give the power to the executive, and you make secrecy a centerpiece of politics. We can't even know what's going on in foreign policy, except if you hear it from the inside, because it's all secret. We have a secret army called the CIA, and it is deployed all over the world. It's very serious.